welcome to the BEASTwriter Family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be discussing Jimmy Garoppolo's injury and what it means for the 49ers moving forward. Now, thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. Just be sure to turn on and flip on the bell notifications so you get notified when I go live or when I upload content. I am actually trying to get people on Facebook in here because it looks like it says I'm trying to create a new broadcast, but I'm really not. I'm just trying to link it. Anyways, if you guys can't tune in to this, just go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel because obviously it's on YouTube. It's on live stream on Facebook, but YouTube is the way to go. And that's the way we monetize things here in the BWF. So again, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and watch all my stuff on Facebook, make the conversion over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel in the lower right hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. All right, so without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and break it down. The breaking news yesterday that came out was that Jimmy Garoppolo suffered what is considered to be a torn UCL. The medical term is, I think it's how do you pronounce it? Ulnar collateral ligament. Let me just pull it up here. It's on ESPN here. Adam Schefter reported it yesterday. A torn ulnar collateral ligament of the right thumb, so his throwing thumb, and also has a fracture in that thumb. So there's no way you can grip the football, right? There's no way you can grip the football when you have a fracture. I mean, if you had any type of fracture, obviously it's going to be damaged goods already, so there's no way he can play. I don't know why they're not just saying, hey, look, like, he can't play, we're going to see how he does. No, you can't play. Kyle Shanahan would be stupid. Stupid is a little bit harsh. He would be dumb to risk playing Jimmy Garoppolo, who was basically a non-factor in the second half due to that injured thumb. Like, literally, you cannot freaking grip, you can't even grip a water bottle for that. Like, how can you grip this? Right? It's like Meet the Parents, the opposable thumb. But no, seriously, how can you grip anything if it's fractured? And then on top of that, you have ligament damage in the thumb. There's no way. There's just no way. I just don't see that happening. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is all but out in Week 17. And so, again, if you guys are just tuning in, Jimmy Garoppolo suffers a torn UCL and a thumb fracture. And that is not good news for them moving forward. It's just not. Now, how does that affect Trey Lance, right? This is going to affect Trey Lance in a lot of variety of different ways. And the main priority here is, how do you protect Trey Lance? Because at the end of the day, he's still a rookie quarterback. And we've seen quarterbacks, especially in this 2021 draft class, struggle. We saw the number one pick overall, Trevor Lawrence, has struggled. We saw Justin Fields struggling. Zach Wilson has struggled a little bit. The only guy of the top five, or what I like to call the big five in that quarterback draft class, that is really having success, and that's because he has a strong supporting cast around him, is Mac Jones. I wouldn't say that's the only reason, because I did say he's the most NFL-ready quarterback. You guys know what I had to say about Mac Jones. When people were making fun of him because of his dad bod with a cigar and his shirt off, look, you can look like Zeus or you can look like me and still suck it up on the football field. I don't care how you look, as long as you perform on the football field. And Mac Jones is silencing the critics one pass at a time with his accuracy, his pinpoint accuracy, I should say. Very smart with the football, makes smart decisions, very quick, decisive decisions. I think that's something that you don't typically see from a rookie quarterback, is going through your progressions from point A to point B to point B to point B to point C. Whether it's a high-low concepts, reading defenses pre-snap from post-snap, how they're leveraging their splits, how do you know how to attack a cover shell based on how they're playing their splits respectively and their techniques. And so you're really seeing that with Mac Jones. Now, granted, he has the best coach of all time backing him, along with a plethora of different weapons, considering you have Kendrick Bourne there. They got Nelson Aguilar. They also have Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry as the double tight end sets over there that can really take away the seams and open things up as a security blanket for Mac Jones. But when you take that into account, and then you have that offensive line that's very underrated, it's a recipe for success. And I think that's what you're seeing in New England when it comes to Mac Jones' game. When it comes to Trey Lance is going to be rolled in. He doesn't have the I shouldn't say he doesn't have the weapons, because obviously he has arguably the best wide receiver in the game all around. That in terms of blocking, in terms of receiving, in terms of running out of the backfield. And you see that Swiss Army type of a deal. We all heard the term the Swiss Army knife with Deebo Samuel. Well, that's kind of like, well, Cordero Patterson does it too. Curtis Samuel was doing it with the Carolina Panthers before he went on and signed that big, was it $32.5 million contract, 4-year deal with the Washington football team. So we've seen it with other wide receivers in the past, right? And when you gain the pulse around the entire NFL, you kind of learn and pick up on different things, how this is really a copycat league, and it's been since forever. It's always been a copycat league. We've seen it with the Wildcat when the Dolphins used Ronnie Brown back in the day. So it's just one of those things, guys. It's just a copycat league. But with that being said, getting back on Trey Lance, how it's affecting Trey Lance and this upcoming game, because he's going to be the starter. I'm calling it right now. He's going to be the starter. Again, you cannot go into the game starting Jimmy Garoppolo. That's fool's gold. No pun intended. Talk about the gold rush. And they need to go ahead and solidify their playoff positioning. If they want to be in the playoffs, you got to win to be in. And with the Saints losing yesterday to the Miami Dolphins, that's good. That's great. We needed that. I say we, but you guys needed that. I don't know why I say we, but bias, I guess. We needed that, and happy that happened. And here we are today. So going into this game, if you're looking at it from Trey Lance's perspective now, Trey Lance gets the start. There's little sample size to pull from when it comes to Trey Lance's game, because if you're a defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans or any of that team moving forward, you're really going to have to say, what body of work do we have to go by? Do we go off the preseason? No, you can't go off the preseason because it's the fucking preseason, bro. Like, what the hell? Like, you can't do that. Come on. And preseason, they don't show you crap anyways. You're not going to see inverted coverages. You're not going to see safeties rolling up and then rolling back. You're not going to see fire zone blitzes. You're not going to see any of that stuff. It's very vanilla, because at the end of the day, both coaching staffs and coaches, both coaching staffs understand, like, hey, we want to gain an understanding of what we have. So let's just keep it fundamentally sound on both sides of the football and see what we got and then go from there. Let's not throw out too much out the window. Plus, it's preseason. You don't want to show your cards. So when it comes to Trey Lance, and then he rolls in during the regular season, and then he kind of struggled. He did struggle. He couldn't read coverages. I should say couldn't read coverages because that's kind of too far. He had trouble reading coverages. All right. He did do some good things. One is his dual threat ability. No one can doubt his dual threat ability. So if you're a DC and of the Texans or the Seattle Seahawks, like Ken Norton Jr., who has to face, you know what I mean? If you're a team like that, or the LA Rams, whatever, right? Whoever the DC is that's facing the 49ers, you're going to have to say, hey, look, if Trey Lance is there, this is how you attack Trey Lance, all right? It's fairly simple, because, again, we talked about with my man Randy Mueller, and me and Randy Mueller are both in agreement and in lockstep on this, and that Trey Lance is a year away from being away, meaning he's really far away. Now, is that saying he's not going to be a Pro Bowl, all-pro player? No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the progression and maturation process from where he is today compared to the rest of the quarterbacks that came into this league, he's a little bit behind the learning curve. But as far as potential, he could arguably, when it's all said and done, have the far better career, because his potential and his ceiling is high. His floor and his ceiling, we kind of have to figure that out, right? What's his floor, but then what's his ceiling? His floor is, well, again, a year away from being away, and then the potential is he can be the next great 49ers quarterback. So again, how do you attack Trey Lance? It's fairly simple, right? How to attack 49ers quarterback Trey Lance. And this is just putting it in perspective. Now, take it for what it's worth, whatever. I don't care. How you attack Trey Lance is you want to use disguising cover shells, right? I talked about this with a NFL coach yesterday. I had a very long conversation with an NFL coach yesterday. He hit me up on his way back, going back to Denver. And he was talking to me about different things that we need to do, or that the Niners need to do. And I was like, hey, he's like, what do you think about Trey Lance? You know, with the news that came out, I was like, hey, look, man, this is what you need to do. All right. So basically what you can do, right, is you run a lot of inverted coverages pre-snap. What I mean by that is you can have a soft cover 4 shell where you have 2 deep safeties. So you're showing a 4 deep look. quarters coverage, 1st and 10, you're playing quarters coverage. I'm Trey Lance. I'm seeing it, so I know that there's going to be 3 underneath defenders. The 2 outside defenders are going to play the curl flat route, and that middle linebacker, who the center is going to, Alex Mack in this case, is going to call out, is going to be the Mike. All right? So, okay, cool. He's playing down the seams. The other guys are playing the curl flat, and we're off and going. Well, once the ball is snapped, all hell breaks loose, because now you see that strong safety or that free safety creeping up post-snap, and now you don't even know if it's cover 3 or if it's even a cover 1. And what type of cover 1 is it going to be? Is it going to be a cover 1 hole player with that Mike linebacker being the hole player taking the underneath route? Or is it going to be a robber cover 1 where then you kind of take it a step further, peeling back layers of the onion to get to the core where that defensive back is now playing the robber scheme and he's just going to undercut the route as an underneath defender. All right. Or is it a strictly cover 1 shell? Just cover 1 deep, man underneath, and off running. Or is it a cover 1 spy? These are all things that Trey Lance has not been accustomed to at the FCS level. And I talked about this even before Trey Lance was drafted. I said, look, no matter what team drafts him, you're projecting here because, again, the talent that you're going to be going up against from the FCS level to the FBS level, from the FBS level to the SEC level and Power 5 conference, and then to the NFL, there's a lot of layers of the onion to really get to that core. And again, he's not seeing those types of defenses. Nick Saban, all right, just putting it because he's the cream of the crop. No coach does it better than Nick Saban at disguising blitzes, disguising cover shells, and then having ROE, which we talk about here on the BWF, rules of engagement, on how they want their defensive backs to play their splits and techniques based on what the offense is covering. For instance, if you're running a 3x2 formation, to the left or to the right, play side, weak side, whatever side of the formation that you're on, there's different rules of engagement there, guys. There's different rules of engagement. So you can't just look at it and say, hey, look, strictly they're running this, a cover 3 shell. So it's a cover 3 look with 4 underneath defenders. And basically the boundary cornerbacks are just going to play the numbers to the boundary, and that single high safety is going to play from the numbers, from the hashes, from the numbers to the numbers. Doesn't always work that way. We've seen it with Tyrann Mathieu. We talked about it with Minkah Fitzpatrick. We talked about it with Budda Baker. You cannot do that. And now you're going up against guys like Reed, right? Who's very smart, obviously. We all know who his brother is. And you have Eric Murray. So we don't know how they're going to be using Trey Lance, but what I do know is I'll be disguising my blitzes and disguising my cover shells pre to post snap. And then also, I'm going to have a spy on Trey Lance because I'm not going to have Trey Lance beat me with his legs. And that's the one thing that we all have to account for is in situational football. And again, I talked about this before he was drafted, how teams would use Trey Lance. Look, you take advantage of his legs. No crap, dude. Like, okay, tell me something I don't know. Well, let's talk about situational football. In goal line situations, anytime Trey Lance is in, I'm selling out on the run. I'm getting 4, 5, 6 defensive linemen up there, and I'm just going to stuff the run off that zone read. Because that's exactly what you're going to do with Trey Lance in goal line short yardage situations. Let's face it. And if I get beat off a play action, I get beat off a play action. I'll take my chances. But odds are, 75% of the time, if you look at analytics, in fact, I don't even know that. I bet you it's a higher rate than that. Probably out of 83%, something like that. Anytime he's in short goal line situation or situational football, he's running the ball. So I'm taking those analytics and I'm running with it. Now, how is that going to fare moving forward? Time will tell. But that's one thing that I would do is I would try to disguise them as much as possible. Know your personnel. Thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. I really appreciate the love, my man. He says, I agree. Josh Allen made the same jump that Trey is trying to do too, but that first year was rough. Yes. Thank you so much. And mahalo for the super chat and super sticker. I really appreciate it, man. It really means a lot. If you guys want to consider sending me a super chat or super sticker, if you guys like the work, if you guys like the channel, send me a super chat and super sticker. It really helps with the live stream and really keeps us on topic because we talk about all 32 freaking NFL teams. And here we are just talking about one. But how it affects all the teams, as Know Your Personnel just said here on the BWF, as he talks about Bills Josh Allen. And I agree. It's not easy. This is not a knock on Trey Lance. Look, quarterback is the hardest position to play in the entire NFL because you have to know exactly what not only your team is doing and your offense is doing, you have to know what the defense is doing. That's what makes Tom Brady so special. I mean, he puts on the clinic. He puts on the clinic. It's ridiculous. And with that being said, know your personnel. I see you, bro. He says, this is Keith, by the way. Ah, Keith Baldwin. I see you, bro. Keith, if you're on, which you are, you have 2 accounts here? That's ridiculous. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Mahalo. Merry Christmas to you. He says, been a while, man. Yes, it's been a while. I need you to hop back on the show because you know your stuff. I love talking to you, bro. You really know your stuff. Definitely Beast approved here in the BWF. And hope you and your family are doing well. Tune in if you ever have the opportunity to do so, because we're going to be hopping on more live streams here on YouTube and talk about this certain dynamic that we're talking about when it comes to Trey Lance's game. Look, everyone can talk about what Trey Lance can and can't do. But do you break it down layers of the onion to get to the core the way I do? In terms of, hey, look, this is exactly what they're going to do, right? Trey Lance can't read a defense. Okay, let's talk about that. What doesn't he do well? For me, it comes down to reading cover shells. And again, Jimmy Garoppolo has the same exact problem. Jimmy Garoppolo has problems in disguising once the coverage is disguised on the back end, and then pre to post snap, he's thinking he has 3 underneath defenders, all of a sudden it's 4 underneath defenders, and he's like, oh, and then he throws and force feeds the ball to George Kittle, and it gets undercut by default because the guy's just dropping back in his zone coverage or climbing up in that zone coverage. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100 because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Keeping things 100 here in the BWF. You like it or not, swipe left. I don't care. Or you can swipe right. Give me a heart. Holla at your boy. But if you guys like what I'm saying, give it a thumbs up because, again, YouTube is liking it. They'll like it. The algorithm help out the algorithm. And we're off and running. Cook and Smoke Sports. Get your questions ready. We're just having all my social media outlets up on the board right now. We are going to do this live here on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. You name it. And it's all good vibes here in the BWF. It's all good vibes. All good vibes. All good vibes. Let's get to some of your questions here and comments. We have Cook and Smoke Sports here on YouTube, and the BWF says, what up, Beast? Excited for the future of our franchise. Trade will be a great 10 years plus. He is our future. Let's go. I love your faithfulness. And again, when you invest 3 first-round draft picks in order to move up to get a guy like Trey Lance, he better be a 10-year starter in this league at the very least. At the very least. And I am excited for Trey Lance. Ceiling is high. But what is his floor? What is his floor? Keith Baldwin says, and this is exactly why Lance should have started day 1. Keith Baldwin was a huge supporter of Trey Lance starting week 1. And I was not. We were in disagreement on that. Respectfully disagree. But not saying I'm right or he's wrong. Or he's right and I'm wrong. Just saying difference of opinions. I just think that Trey Lance, what we saw in Trey Lance in my pre-draft analysis was not enough for the 49ers to start him week 1. I don't think they would have the same record that Jimmy Garoppolo would have had, Trey Lance would have. Jimmy Garoppolo was not the starter. And let's face it, there is some kind of dynamic in the locker room where it's split. You don't think George Kittle wants Jimmy Garoppolo as his starter? Come on, let's keep it 100. You can say all you want to the NFL media, to the beat writers, but we all know, man. It's not a secret. Or is it? It's not. It's not a secret. Their locker room is split. Now, they'll back whoever they want because at the end of the day, it's all about winning and putting up that W. But at the end of the day, if you're still getting W's with a quarterback that took you to the Super Bowl, helped you get to the Super Bowl, how can you argue? How can you argue? Lunar Mystic here says, yo, Beast, do you think Trey would give the Niners a better record if they started throughout the season? No, I do not. I do not. And I just answered that. I do not. I don't think that starting Trey Lance would give him a better record than what Jimmy Garoppolo had provided, simply because I don't think Trey Lance is ready. I don't think he was ready the first half of the season. Now, second half of the season, I guarantee he got a lot better than what we saw the first sample size in the first half of the year, for sure. I mean, come on, you get those reps throughout the year. You kind of learn different things. You watch game film. You're in that film room. Jimmy Garoppolo's kind of feeding stuff into your ear, what to look for, what not to look for. You have the quarterback's coach looking at it and say, hey, look, what do you see on this? I'm going to tell you what I see on this. What decision would you have made if the linebacker did this? How would you adapt to this on the fly? Same thing with I can't even talk now. Safety. Strong safety. I want to say strong safety or free safety, but it came out strafety. That didn't even make sense. What about the strafety? What about the safety? Strong safety, right? And we have to take that into account and really look at it for what it's worth and say, hey, look, this is what we have. This is what they're showing. However, based on this down and distance, based on how this linebacker is telling, based on his body language, when he does this, it usually means that. Kind of like when middle linebacker Fred Warner does this. He's saying, watch out for the bubble screen. Watch out for the bubble screen. Now, I don't know why they ain't changed the calls the last 2 weeks, but I see it. I'm sure other offensive coordinators see it too. John Jay is in the house. John Jay, what's going on, my man? How are you doing on this Taco Tuesday?
You see, I'm doing good. I'm back at home. I've been away from some personal stuff, and I'm back at home. What's up, man?
What is going on? I am just on this live stream before hitting the gym. I said I was going to do one yesterday for Monday Morning Quarterback. Usually I do, but I figured it was a good time to do it today, just to kind of adjust, peel back layers of the onion to get to the core, as I always like to say. Talk to people internally as well as externally as in regards to Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance is going to be the starter. I'm sticking to it. That's what I'm hearing. I think they're going to start Trey Lance. With that being said, Trey Lance is in. How do you feel about that?
Well, one thing that most fans like us, forget that, every quarterback rookie has to eventually step in and take that job. Trey Lance is going to play. When we saw him against the Cardinals, he didn't look really good. He looked really awful. Kyle ran him a lot for whatever the reason. I hated that. And, now he has to play because, as a quarterback, when you're drafted, we want to see you play. So we forget that there's a lot of pressure we're putting on this kid. He's 21. He's way younger than me. And he started for a professional, organization. But besides that, I'm very excited to see him. Hopefully, he can do more than just run 16 times and do something else. Because against that Cardinals game, he made some good throws. I was very, excited. Of course, I already knew about his running ability because, I saw a lot of tape of him, because I was scouting the quarterback every draft. And overall, he's playing against the Texans. It's not going to be an easy game. A lot of people think, the Texans, they just beat the Chargers, and the Chargers are, they're pretty good, so it's any given Sunday. So, this is going to be something for us to see, how he hasn't improved this year. So that's my thoughts on Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think from any fan's perspective, technically I'm no longer a fan, even though I still root for certain teams. Becoming, a member of the NFL media, it's kind of like I have to distance myself, and that's how I do it. Because otherwise, I find myself being biased. That's not the way I like to go about things. But getting to your question, yeah, I think there is a learning curve when it comes to Trey Lance's game. I do believe that he's going to be good at some point. I just don't think that point is now. And I think that the false narrative that people were trying to push that Trey Lance would be the starter week 1, and here we are today in week 17. He's not. That just goes to show you where Trey Lance is when he entered the league and where he is today. Now, let's face it, he's facing the Houston Texans. Houston Texans are by no means a great defensive team or great team overall. They're eliminated from the playoff contention. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, exactly who do you have on there? Jonathan Greenard's having a good year. He has 8 sacks. But other than that, what exactly do you have? What body? You have Jacob Martin there. Okay, cool story. Who out there can you name literally 3 players on that defensive starting team?
Nope.
No, you can't. No one can. They don't have. No longer do they have J.J. Watt. No longer do they have some of these other guys. We can go back down the list, and they don't have much talent. They don't have. What's that guy's name? Williams, right? Who they drafted? What was it? Number 1 overall. Mario Williams, right? Who they drafted number 1 overall, and then Reggie Bush went number 2. They don't have these types of guys anymore. There's no one on that roster that makes me think, oh crap, man! He's really gonna be a difference maker. Now, Camus Grugier-Hill is having a good year. He's a veteran journeyman, and he's having one hell of a season. But other than that, let's face it. If I didn't bring that name up, you guys would have been like, who the hell is that? they don't have much going for them. So Trey Lance, by default, doesn't have to do too much because at the end of the day, they're just going to be running the football anyways. You win in playoff football and to get to the playoffs in a deep playoff run by winning time of possession, keeping the opposing offenses off the football field, shortening the ball game, and controlling the clock and dominating the line of scrimmage. That's how you win. That's what you're going to get with Trey Lance. Trey Lance is going to be there. He's going to do some special things. All right. There's going to be a 3rd and 13 where he's going to run for a first down, something like that. Miraculous play. We saw it with Justin Fields when he did to the San Francisco 49ers in Chicago. Right? You guys remember that, right? Did you watch that game?
Yeah.
All right. You remember that. So there's nothing out of the ordinary that we're not seeing. It's a matter of putting it in perspective and, okay, well, how is this going to translate when they face the LA Rams? Can you do this against the LA Rams? That's where I want to see, hey, look, okay, is it unfair? Absolutely it's unfair because no one, I mean, even Mac Jones, if he started for the 49ers against the LA Rams, I'm not so sure he would have great success. I mean, LA Rams are the LA Rams. Aaron Donald, you have Leonard Floyd there. You now have Von Miller creeping on the outside in that 34 base defense. You have guys on the back end, Jalen Ramsey, the number 1 shutdown corner in my BWF grading system. He just mirrors receivers all day long, all day strong. So you have that. There's a lot of different guys you have on that defense. They fly around the football. And when you do that, and they disguise coverages, pre to post snap. So for me, that's the game that I really want to see where Trey Lance is because they're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink, everything at him. Everything's going to be thrown at Trey Lance if he's a starter in that last game of the year. And I think that would be interesting to see rather than the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, I mean, like I said, they're going to run 200 rushing yards. Literally, that's the game plan for Kyle Shanahan. Outside zone run, inside zone run. Let's just spread them out horizontally and let's get upfield in that one cut back system and more often running to the races. Saving Trey Lance, not giving him too much of a sample size to mess up from, and just keeping everything in front. Look, you have George Kittle. That's your check down. You have Kyle Juszczyk coming out of the flat. That's your check down. All right. If all else fails, option C. Option C is to run. All right. You have legs. All right. Manipulate the pocket how you see fit. Creep up those linebackers off play action pass. Naked bootlegs, you're going to see that. A lot of naked bootlegs. I think that's one thing no one's talking about with the rollouts. You're going to see a lot of naked bootlegs, and they did it with Steve Young. Talked about it in my pre-draft analysis before he was drafted by the Niners. How they like anybody who's going to use a West Coast style offense is going to like Trey Lance for his naked bootlegs. His ability to manipulate outside zone runs, and this is what you're going to see Kyle Shanahan do. Outside zone run, outside zone run, outside zone run, outside zone run. Naked bootleg, here he comes rolling out, and then George Kittle, boom. Coming around across the grain on a drag route, boom, big gain. And that's how you're going to win against the Houston Texans. And I think by doing that, you're saving Trey Lance because now you're cutting the field in half. Just like defensive coordinators, they like it, and defensive players love this when you cut the field in half because you're only playing one side of the football field. But what happens when you do these naked bootlegs and now teams are overcommitted to stopping the run and they can't do it off a zone read or outside zone run, and they roll back the other way, and then you have George Kittle, guys like Jawan Jennings going across the grain on a post route, or Deebo Samuel. Now the options are endless, and now you're putting Trey Lance in the prime opportunity to be successful simply because you're throwing not to a specific area where he's going to be making an ill-advised throw. And if it's an ill-advised throw, it's not going to be picked off for an interception because, again, you're throwing with the receiver, not throwing behind him because by default, when they run that naked bootleg, all the momentum is shifting one way. Make me a coordinator. No, I'm joking. What else do you have on your mind in regards to the Niners and everything like that before I let you go?
Yeah. So the last thing that I wanted to bring up, for some people, who still have this question about Trey Lance, can he take this team over the hill. And I'm a person who's going to take a negative stance that a lot of people are going to look at me. But I don't really think that, this year he's going to elevate the team in a very high level like everyone was saying, this offseason. I do think that, he still needs, some more time to develop. And, I think if he plays these next 2 games, this is going to be really good for him, to get some reps and see, his progress against, live competition. And, of course, as you mentioned, the Texans, they're not really good, but any given Sunday, anything can happen. And then, of course, if he does play against the Rams, that's going to be a really good test. So I see Trey Lance, mostly if he does play these 2 games, is to see the development that he's been doing this entire season.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to look. I think most analysts would agree with me, and the ones that I spoke with is he wasn't ready, and that's why he wasn't playing. So no one, maybe fans had a different perspective because again, the fan perspective is usually biased, which is fine. I was once a fan, and I was usually biased, right? I mean, that's just the fans' perspective, right? NinerFans.com, the fans' perspective. That was my slogan and the motto that we went by because again, as fans, we always have a certain type of feel. We feel a certain type of way about our team, right? We feel connected to that team. I think when you take yourself out of the situation and look at it for what it really is, then you can kind of say, like really, as much as I want Trey Lance to be successful, and hey, I hope I'm wrong, the Beast receipts more times than not check out. And the Beast receipts have, based on my analysis, based on my pre-draft analysis and leading up to where we are today, it's been holding up, right? When it comes to Trey Lance and everything else. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does well, and I think he is going to do well against the Houston Texans. Look, I think he's going to have a really good game against the Houston Texans. But again, it's the Houston Texans. Now, is that a knock on Trey Lance? No, because he can't control who he plays. Like, just because you play, the strength of the schedule is the strength of the schedule. I can't control who's on our schedule. Whatever, I played well. Like, that's the bottom line. But at the end of the day, I think the LA Rams game is the one that I'm going to look forward to. And usually the Niners have the Rams number anyway, so hopefully they run the ball again and Trey Lance can get a W. And if that happens, then there's going to be rumblings. Should Trey Lance start in the playoffs? And look, that's going to be really scary if he is the starting quarterback and they go 2-0 in this last 2-game stretch and they're entering the playoffs because all defensive coordinators know, oh crap. Now Kyle Shanahan had all these things, all these plays that he kept throughout the year that he wanted to use Trey Lance, and he kept him in the archives, in the dirty archives, and now he's rolling them out, and we have no sample size to pull from because they haven't used them much throughout the year. Could we see a Colin Kaepernick type of a deal where teams have to catch up to Colin Kaepernick back like when they did again in that 2012 season, right? Guys remember when in the Green Bay Packers, right? I believe it was the 2012 season or 2013 season, where he just kind of shredded the Green Bay Packers. Could we see a similar type of effect if Trey Lance is rolled in? Because let's face it, that's going to be the talk. Hey, look, Trey Lance is 2-0. His passer rating is this. His efficiency is this. Should they play Trey Lance, or when Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, should they roll Jimmy Garoppolo? And I guarantee every veteran quarterback, every veteran wide receiver, every veteran tight end, every veteran offensive lineman publicly would say, you know what, whoever gives us the best chance to win, we have that guy's back. But let's face it, I can tell you more times than not, on that 2019 Super Bowl NFC winning team, more times than not, I would take a guess that they would back, if they had the choice, they would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo as opposed to Trey Lance. Privately, not publicly. Now, whoever gives them the best chance to win, at the end of the day, that's what matters. But just like we have a special bond with the team, so do the players, between players. That's my boy. Jimmy's my boy. I have his back. Who says that? George Kittle. Who's the most well-respected guy inside that locker room on offense? George Kittle. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo, it's George Kittle. All right. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And John Jay, as always, you've been nothing but awesome.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, man.
Yeah. All right. That was my man, John Jay from 49ers Ultimate Report. We got a lot of questions. We have Keith Murray on here. Man, thank you so much for the super chat, bro.
No doubt, man. How you doing?
Good. How you been?
I've been good, man. Been a while. Good to catch up with you again.
I've been wondering where you are. I know you've been hiding from me.
It work. It work. I got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One,
sure.
Is it an indictment on Shanahan to trade 3 first-round picks for a player that's not ready? You wouldn't want to do that for a guy that is ready, right?
Yeah. I think anytime a coach or a GM who's in that type of position looks at a player and says, I don't care what I give up to get that player as long as I believe that player is going to be what I think he's going to be. And that's why I think the disconnection between what the asking price is for a player as opposed to what actually teams are willing to give up for that player are a lot different. You can't go, and we're talking about the draft now because, again, we're delving into the past to talk about the future. Okay? When I talk to GMs, when I talk to scouts, to coaches who are in the personnel, director of college scouting, these types of deals, right, where I talk to these guys on a number of different teams to gain a pulse around the whole entire NFL. The one thing remains to be seen is, and I think everybody in the BWF should understand, is the value chart is not only, it's just a barometer, like it's just a gauge. And aside from that,
Right.
not all teams value that chart.
Go by it.
The way analytics work today, you have to understand, and it's something that I developed as well. I have my own algorithm when it comes to the valuation chart. And when you do that, let's face it, when you have a team need, like let's say it's quarterback, right? The quarterback is the team need heading into 2021. The valuation of projecting of where those top players are going to fall, that grade or that analytical number differs from 2022. Because you look at 2022 when it comes to that quarterback position, right? Who you have? You have Desmond Ridder, you have Kenny Pickett, you have Malik Wilson. I mean, who are these guys? They're not even top 10 picks. So that's why it changes everything.
I'm on the show.
That's why it changes everything. And that's why I think that people should not take things at face value and say, just look at the value. Oh, the value chart is this. And, well, the Vikings did this last year with GM Rick Spielman. And
Right.
I'm like, no, dude, you can't do that. You can't do that. Now, there is some underlying truths with that because I do have the numbers on and the analytics on that. But more times than not, if you truly believe a player is worth giving up 3, even 4 first-round draft picks, and you thought Tom Brady was going to be the guy, you take him. And no one would wonder. The question is comparing real time to hindsight. Once you make that real time analysis, you better stick to it and not be a FFF, which I call a flip flop or fake. Don't flip your real time analysis in hindsight. Like I knew they made the right decision. Stick to it. Stick to it. For me, do I think trading 3 first-round draft picks, to your question, for Trey Lance was the right move? No, I do not. I don't. And I said that since day one. And another question during the YouTube live stream, I don't know if you were on it, but it was the next question was asked, okay, if you were John Lynch coming into this situation, let's say John Lynch hypothetically got fired after making those picks, and now you're stuck in the hot seat, and you had the option of who you would want, and it's all on my live stream, the Beast Receipts, check out. Who would you select at number 3? You know what I said? I said Jamar Chase. I said select Jamar Chase, make a bigger strength because we don't know how healthy Deebo Samuel is. And if Deebo Samuel is healthy, that's an added bonus, which we see today. If you had Jamar Chase on the other side, that gives Jimmy Garoppolo one more weapon to work from. I'm not going to reach for need for Trey Lance. Now, I'm not saying Trey Lance is not going to be an all-pro Pro Bowl player. He definitely is in line to do that. But Jamar Chase is just one of those guys who I felt would be a perfect fit for what the 49ers like to do. And they were searching for that. And when you have him teamed up with Brandon Ayuk and then George Kittle, I mean, if you look around the NFL today, all right, you need a trio of wide receivers, which is why I had Jamar Chase mocked to the Bengals at 4 instead of Penei Sewell. And it turned out they drafted him because you need a trio of wide receivers. They have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, right? You look at all the good teams around the league, that's what they have. They have a trio of wide receivers. Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, and Stephon Diggs, right? Steelers are trying to create that identity with Deontay Johnson. They were hoping James Washington, the second-round pick, would pan out. He's not. He's all about out next year. But you still have Chase Claypool, right? And they're still searching for that third guy. All right? So if you look about the landscape of the entire NFL and say, okay, in the pass-happy NFL where all these rules are dictated toward fantasy football and a high-scoring offense, look at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Godwin, Mike Evans, right? You can put any and then plug any other wide receiver in there, right? You're good to go. There you go. AB. Gronk. It's just that's why I said if I was stuck making those picks, hey, look, I don't care. I'm going Jamar Chase. It was either Jamar Chase or Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons was number 4 on my big board and people were laughing at me. Here we are today. Well, and I said, pick your poison.
Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Beast.
Yeah. And there's a YouTube live stream on that too. Go ahead.
I would not have traded for those picks.
You would not.
I would not have traded up.
Yeah.
Unless it was a slam dunk, Andrew Luck, or
Yeah.
I just don't see the logic. Now that I'm looking back, I think it was emotional. We get Stafford. We can't go get Deshaun. We can't go.
Yeah.
We can't get Rodgers. Try to trade for him. I just gotta go get somebody. Like, I'm tired. And he knew in his heart of hearts what's happening now at the end of the year is going to happen. Was going to happen again, and that's Jimmy G getting hurt.
Right.
And so
Right. No, you're
now you don't feel as stuck. I feel okay. I know everything you're saying about him not being. I feel better about Trey Lance than I do about C.J. Beathard and Nick Bones.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of making him look like he did something there to mitigate losing Jimmy G.
Yeah. And again, I think.
But to go back to what you were saying to the other guy, if 49ers win the next 2 games, I don't think you can go back to Jimmy.
Yeah. I don't think you can either. Because again, we're foreshadowing things. And again, here in the BWF, that's what we do. We project and predict. It's a player's job to perform. We always say that when it comes to the 3 Ps, just like the 3 Fs. When it comes to going 2-0, you're going to use the Jim Harbaugh slogan. We're going to go and ride the hot hand. We're going to go with the hot hand. And again, any fan, anybody in the NFL media knows this, or you should know this, otherwise you shouldn't be in the NFL media. The playoffs is the time where everything should be in sync. Okay? When something's out of whack, especially at the quarterback position, and now you have a quarterback who's now 2-0 going into the playoffs, how can you go back to the guy who struggled just to get you into the playoffs? Does that make sense? Right. And I know it's a small sample size to pull from, and I know it's kind of emotional to just go with recency bias, all right? That's the term that we would label it, is recency bias. But recency bias tells us what? Look at Nick Foles. They had Carson Wentz, and he went down. Look at Tom Brady, same thing, right? Like they wrote him in. Look what happened to Alex Smith, and then Colin Kaepernick. I mean, so we seen this. We seen it happen. And it's all about whether or not you can go ahead and whether the team can rally behind that and be okay with it. Because at the end of the day, the whole team, it's a team concept. It's not as much as collecting talent as it is building a football team. And the whole football team needs to buy into that line of thinking, that program. And they have to emotionally and physically be on board. Because if no one's on board or not, or split, that's going to cause dysfunction. They won't say it publicly, but privately, people. I've been in that locker room for freaking 7 years. I know. I still keep in touch with a lot of the players.
People just put these. People just think people are football players. They are human beings. To your point, they have biases and they have feelings too. It's still the coach's job to make the most informed decision based on what can get the job done on the football field.
Right. Exactly. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. What are your thoughts in regards to Ambry Thomas and Neal? You guys know what I had to say in real time once they were drafted. I thought they were bad picks, just like Aaron Banks. I thought was a bad. Oh, you don't know Kyle Shanahan. John Lynch said they liked them. Okay, we're going to see. What are your thoughts on that? Go ahead.
We talked on before that draft. We wanted Asante Samuel Jr. I guess he'll be back. This is his show. Who is that? What's up, G? It's a conspiracy that's taking over.
Oh, you're good. You're good, Bo. You're good, boss.
Man, you left me alone for a second.
No. I wanted to amplify you, so you had the floor, so I had a function on there. So you're good. Can you hear me? Oh, you're muted. You're muted now. You're muted though. You're muted on your end, bro.
Okay.
You're good.
I'm back. Hey, I got a phone
You're back.
call. I'm good. We wanted Asante Samuel Jr. When we traded down the second round, I think to get a running back, we had a chance to get him. And so I think Amador Lamore and Demaryius Thomas are playing at the level where they are picked.
Yeah.
You don't get picked that low if you're a difference-making cornerback. Cornerback is probably the second most difficult quarterback.
Yeah.
You have to spend a high draft
Yeah.
pick on DB. Spend money on. I don't know what the market looks like in free agency this summer. But when we get that cap space back for Jimmy, we need to be looking to invest in the secondary.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, the secondary, when it comes to the boundary cornerback, isn't very hot this year. I mean, I've run grades. I cover college football just like I do the NFL with my BWF game grades. And I talked about DK, Darian Kendrick, Clemson transfer, who's now with Georgia. That's a good game to watch if you guys are into watching boundary cornerbacks and what to look for in the draft. Darian Kendrick is a guy who doesn't get much hype. He wasn't on ESPN Top 100 Players going into the season, and I kind of went on Twitter and I was like, how can you leave DK out? DK to me is a guy who is not scheme universal, right? I mean, he is scheme universal. He's not scheme dependent, I should say. He can be scheme universal. And so you have guys like DK. Obviously, Derek Stingley from LSU is another guy to keep an eye out for. There are good cornerbacks in this draft. Obviously, Sauce Gardner. I think his name is Gardner Johnson or Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, the cornerback. He's another good one to look out for, but it's not that strong. It's not that strong, and I think if you're going to look for a boundary cornerback, I think you really need to bank on what you're going to do with Jason Verrett. Is Jason Verrett going to be able to come back and be healthy? I think that's something that we need to look at, if he can come back and be healthy. If he can't be healthy, then again, you have obviously Emmanuel Mosley, right? You signed him to a 2-year deal. So he's already on the hook for the next year. So hopefully he pans out. But you're going to need depth at the end of the day. You're going to need depth. Jerry Yang says, what's up, Ryan? So is Jimmy G done for the season? Miyoko thinks he might play since he announced it early. If he was, they would have released it late for Texans to scramble. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that Trey Lance is going to start, but again,
I can't hear you.
It's still early. It's still early. You can't hear me? If you guys can't hear me, let me know. Know Your Personnel said, oh, here we go. Let's see, what else do we have here? Getting back to some of your questions. Havoc6927, the BWF says, Matt Ryan had a whole season of issues learning that offense as a veteran, so don't expect Lance to be a perfect in any way. All right, here we go. Ernesto G says, was the Niners the only team interested in Trey Lance? I think they had intel other teams were going to pick Trey Lance if we stayed at 12. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that were interested in Trey Lance. Carolina Panthers obviously could have been one of them. Obviously, they went ahead and traded for Sam Darnold. But at this point, we have to really figure out, even though the team, everybody has intel on a lot of players, and they might think everybody loves a lot of players, but a lot of it could be smoke. I just think trading up to number 3 for Trey Lance was a mistake. Time will tell. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, we have my man Keith Murphy. He's back in the house. Okay, so let's talk about some other things that are going on. Cook and Smoke Sports says, we bust on our first round pick, so I could care less. So it's kind of, well, aside from Nick Bosa. Ayuk and Nick Bosa. But even Ayuk, I felt like they didn't bust on Ayuk. He's definitely going to be a good player, but Ayuk and Bosa will probably be the only two I can say that actually are not busts. I think Eric Armstead's a bust. Even going back before GM John Lynch, and I called it. I said Eric Armstead's not good. Obviously, that's why me and Eric Armstead have beef 7 years later. But here we are, 7 years later. Beast receipts check out.
I still think that they signed the wrong one. Should have kept Buckner.
What I say, my first BWF on my what I say, and people were like, "No, the Kinlaw's going to be great," and I'm like, "Well, there's another one." You guys are thinking you're gonna get Kinlaw, you're diminishing the need. Everything's on Twitter and YouTube. It was great, and now all those people are quiet. In fact, Javon Kinlaw deleted his Twitter after saying I was his biggest inspiration. I don't know, not because of that, but he deleted it. I don't know why he deleted it. Do you know why he deleted his Twitter? Javon Kinlaw?
Probably sensitivity.
I guess You think so? I don't know. I don't know why he did. I don't know why he did, but hopefully he'll be back on it. We have.
Well,
I cannot pronounce.
Hopefully he's focusing on football and getting healthy.
Or focusing on me as his biggest inspiration, because the empire wasn't built overnight. But at some point, it was started. At some point, it was started. Hey, can you pronounce this, Keith? I cannot pronounce his name. I don't want to butcher it. Dako Tamuli, or how would you pronounce this?
Dakota Muley.
Dakota Muley or Dakota Mule.
Dakota Mule. There we go.
I think we got it here. Thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. He says, appreciate your input. Excited for Trey and the team. It's all good. Yeah, you know what? Thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker. And again, if you guys would love to send me super chat and super stickers like Keith, like Dakota Mule, please go ahead and consider doing that in the lower. It's on your. Would you do it from your phone? It's the money icon, right, on your phone that you can do.
It's the money
okay.
icon on the phone on YouTube.
Yeah.
Look
so
my man
go ahead.
BEASTwriter up, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What else is on your mind? We got to catch up, man. There's a lot of stuff we have to catch up on. Come on, give
I
me
got
your
one more
thoughts.
thing before I got to get back to these children. But
all right,
is there any,
have your children on the child? Have your children on here. Bring your children on this.
They up there playing. But,
all right, go ahead.
Let's see. I think Aaron Rodgers is still going to leave Green Bay. Is there any chance that they would trade him to us? And do you think we'd be in the market if they were interested?
I would say F yeah. F yeah.
Okay, too.
Bruh, if Aaron Rodgers comes to San Francisco, it's game over, bro. You think anybody's going to care if Trey Lance starts or not next year? No. You know why? Because Aaron Rodgers will be in the limelight of his career, technically, right? Kind of sailing into the sunset, and he wants to end it on a strong note. What better way to do it in San Francisco, his team that he always loved, because you struck out once on Tom Brady, you turned his ass down, and now he went to Tampa Bay. You don't want to make the same mistake twice? Bruh. I'm saying, A-Rod, if you're listening, come to the Bay. It's all love. And Trey Lance would welcome it, because now you're learning behind one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it, and he did it behind Brett Favre for so many years.
Trey Lance would have to go.
Ooh. You think they would trade Trey Lance?
Would you trade Trey Lance for Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, man.
That's Trey Lance and Jimmy G.
Fred Warner.
And Fred Warner, I would.
I knew you would say Fred Warner. I love Fred Warner. I still like Fred Warner. Maybe because he's a big supporter here in the BWF and his dad is too. I still think he's an first-team All-Pro in my BWF grading system. He's still the second-best off-ball linebacker.
It's hard to say he's that good after watching Bowman and Willis all those years. He's good, but he's not. Those guys were thumpers, and I mean they were just a different level. Like Patrick Willis is one of the best linebackers I've ever seen.
Hands down. He is definitely in the running for Hall of Fame. I think in today's age of thumper linebacker, we think of guys like Ray Lewis, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, dating back to even Zach Thomas from the Miami Dolphins. Not the biggest guy, not the strongest, but he was a beast in the middle of that defense. You look at guys who have that type of pedigree, and you say, hey, look, is Fred Warner that kind of mold? You look at today's NFL. I would compare more like a Roquan Smith to a Patrick Willis than a Fred Warner to a Patrick Willis, right? You look at all the off-ball linebackers in today's NFL, the thumper days are gone. You're not going to find that thumper like a Denzel Perryman, like he's a throwback two-down thumper coming out of the U. But at the end of the day, it's almost like this. It's like because of the way the league has transcended, you don't see that thumper type of linebacker. You have to be a three-down linebacker. I'm not saying that Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman weren't. They were definitely successful at. They were monsters. They were monsters. Like who?
Luke Kuechly.
Oh shit, Luke Kuechly. How could I forget Luke Kuechly? Yes, he's another one. I think when you look at today's linebacker, you look at more of the guy like Darius Leonard, guys who are a little bit faster. In fact, I had a conversation with Navarro Bowman back in 2015 when I interviewed him, and Navarro Bowman and me had a really great working relationship. He actually gave me a shout out with my blog when he went down to that injury in Seattle. He actually shared He actually shared my logo on his Instagram. He would give me bear hugs before practices. So me and him had a good working relationship, right? And one of the things, I had a conversation with Navarro Bowman, and this wasn't televised or anything like that, because we had that kind of trust. And I say, hey, look, you know, there's a thing called, because he asked me, how do you get so big? So we talked about fitness and what I did to you know, whatever. And so that's kind of how I, you know, talk to these players. And he was talking about how in today's age of being a linebacker, you don't have to be in that 250, 260 range, right? You can kind of come down from that and be in that 230 range. And so I think that's when he was going toward the end of his career, that he was kind of trying to aiming for that 230, 240 type of a deal. That's what you see with a guy like Fred Warner, right? He's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, but he's not the fastest, but he's really good at what he does. And I think we've been so spoiled with the Navarro Bowmans and Patrick Willis over the years that we lose track of how good Fred Warner is today. Yeah.
Oh, this one of my boys.
What's going on, man? How you doing? Are you a Niner fan? Is he a Niner fan?
I'm molding him into it here, sir. Are you a Niner fan? Yes, because I make him watch the Niners with me. But he's going to Georgia. I got to keep him from the Falcons.
My one of my friends just moved to Georgia today. He literally just moved today. Like he's actually on a plane. It's a 4-hour flight from here, right? From 5-hour flight from here. Yeah, he's actually moving to Georgia. So the Falcons are big there, but so are the Georgia Bulldogs, are even bigger. And I heard the Atlanta Falcons aren't even mentioned in Atlanta. Like, they don't care about the Falcons. No one cares about the Falcons.
Georgia runs everything here. I joked
Really?
with people here. I'm gonna let you know. I moved here from North Carolina 3 years ago. I said Georgia is like how Carolina and Duke are in North Carolina, except Carolina and Duke win national championships. You guys don't.
Hey, Georgia can win it this year, though. I think they're hungry. I'm a big Roll Tide Roll fan, but I think they have a chance if they beat Michigan, which I don't think. I'm hoping Michigan wins because I'm a big Jim Harbaugh supporter, being biased. But Michigan and Alabama would be one hell of a freaking national championship. And I would love to see
Bryce Young shows why you're a 5-star and why Georgia needs to upgrade that position.
Yeah, you can't get it done with the quarterbacks that they have. All right, well, thank you so much, Keith Murphy.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you so much. And that was Keith Murphy from the BWF on our live stream today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a lot of questions here. We have more. Dakota Mule, thank you so much. I appreciate it. CG Sports Talk channel says, hi, Beast Rider. Go Lance. All right. What else we got here? Oh, we have a lot of questions. Let me get to... Geez, there's YouTube, there's Twitter. Alan Owens, let's get to this one first. Alan Owens, one of the best shows online. Beast Rider, keep up the great work. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the love and support as always. Orphanage Builder DeGrom says on the BWF, Rodgers would never leave the Packers. He has a great O-line, a bunch of weapons, and a top 5 defense. Also, Matt LaFleur, being a Coach of the Year candidate, his words hold a lot of weight in Green Bay as well. That's true. That's true. And again, he could match Jim Harbaugh, which I said in my preseason analysis that he would be, the second coach in NFL history to go to 3 straight NFC championship games in his first 3 years as coach. Joining only Jim Harbaugh, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. All right. CJ Sports Talk channel says, I agree with you that Aaron Rodgers would never leave Green Bay. But he did request a trade. Here's the thing. If Devontae Adams is not re-signed, which I think he will be, but if he's not re-signed, what's going to happen? Because again, can you count on Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Can you count on Alan Lazard? I mean, what weapons do you really have? You have Aaron Jones. You signed him to that big money deal. Obviously, you have David Bakhtiari out for he's been out for the whole entire year up to this point. Obviously, they hope that he's back for the playoff. But you know what? You have Elgin Jenkins there. You do have a strong offensive line there and Billy Turner. I get it. But defense, Jair Alexander's been out. He was a top 2 corner. Actually, he was the second top rated cornerback in my grading system last year. And he went down to an injury. Hopefully they have him back. You also have guys like Darnell Savage. I believe Adrian Amos is on that team. Who else do they have? A lot of guys. Rashawn Gary. Kenny Clark out of UCLA. First round pick, I believe. Pro Bowler. I'm not sure if they still have Lancaster. I think they still have Lancaster, that defensive end. Yeah, they got a good team. They got a pretty good team. But, hey, Rodgers coming to San Francisco. How can you not like that? That's a San Francisco treat. And, again, your hometown, why would you not? And try to win and end the quest for 6. That's just me being biased, I guess. That's just me being biased. All right. Thank you so much, Alan Owens, for the love. I appreciate it. And I see you. I see you. I see you. Mahalo for the love, as always. All right. Lunar Mystic says, Bama versus Washington would be amazing. Would be amazing. All right. Mr. TNA's 2005 says, Beast, did the Niners O-line have a bad season until now, except Trent, who is a beast? I don't know if they have a bad offensive line, or if they had a bad season. I just think it's not that great. I don't know. I don't think it's that good. Cook and Smoke Sports says, Beast is my boy. Lunar Mystic says, as a huge Niner fan, I highly doubt Aaron coming here in the Bay. I don't get why he would leave a good team like the Packers and go to the Niners. I wouldn't doubt it. Orphanage Building Ground. Devontae Adams is only leaving the Packers if Rodgers leaves. Rodgers and Adams duo is literally unstoppable. Adams was toying with Ramsey. He actually was, though. You ain't lying. And that's something that, well, we're just going to have to see how that one plays out. So, Alejandro Melanche says, and I quote, so knowing about Darian Kendrick off the field issues, he can fall into the draft to the Niners in the second round in 2022. He's a beast on the field, but his off-field issues can be his downfall. Yes. And I think that's a lot has to do with that. I mean, we saw it with Dre Kirkpatrick. Dre Kirkpatrick's stock fell when for you guys who don't know, you guys had Dre Kirkpatrick number 13. Yes, he was drafted in the first round by the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe he was drafted, gosh, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, because I don't know, I just love the draft. I think he was drafted number 17. If someone can correct me on that, I think since he was drafted coming out of Alabama, number 17 by the Cincinnati Bengals. If I get this right, it's crazy. And he had some off-field issues. In fact, looking back on my notes, I think he had marijuana possession or something like that, and yeah, a few other things off the top of my head. But his draft stock fell. Janoris Jenkins was another guy who kind of had some off-field issues. Obviously, Honey Badger Tyrann Matthew slipped to leave in the third round because of his off-field behavior. I think he was kicked off the LSU team, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2013. After being named, SEC Defensive Player of the Year or whatever it was? Crazy. But look at how they're doing, man. They had long NFL careers. Because everybody needs a strong boundary cornerback. And winning solves everything. Even though they weren't winning in Cincinnati. Mr. TNA says, my man says, Jameson Williams for Sauce will be a great battle. It will. Jameson Williams, for those who don't know, is a transfer from The Ohio State University. And he kind of overtook John Mechie the third spot as the wide receiver 1 in his only year at Alabama and had a career season. And now with John Mechie out, he tore his ACL. He is now out for the year. It's Jameson Williams' show and his alone. How is that going to hold up when you have guys that are out? Like McClellan, the running back, he's out for the year. They have a lot of guys. Alabama has a lot of guys out for the year. Starters. And they still made it this far. Crazy. But, hey, Jameson Williams versus Sauce is going to be epic. I love it. And I think every NFL scout is going to be watching matchups as opposed to, well, they'll be watching the game in itself. Is the lights too bright for that player? Is the stage too big for him? Oh, no, it's not. That's why in the pre-draft analysis, post-draft analysis, why did you draft Sauce? And why did you draft James? Oh, the stage wasn't too big for him. You know, played in the big powerhouse SEC. He has a big, strong hands. Can win those 50-50 balls. Can really climb that ladder. Oh, man. He's not a one-trick pony. I ever since I used it, I see it swirling around now around the NFL media outlets. That one-trick pony. Heard it a lot on ESPN last night. Peeling back layers of the onion to get to the core. Another one of mine. All right. So, Lunar Mystic says, Rodgers is going to Denver. Makes no sense. If I was him, I'd rather stay in Green Bay. Orphanage Builder DeGrom says, as a Bama fan, that's what I just want to keep this up because you're a Bama fan. I'm a Bama fan. Hey, roll tide roll, holla at your boy. As a Bama fan, we blowing Michigan or Georgia. Man, I hope you're right. I think Michigan's a tougher. I should say both Michigan and Georgia is going to be hard. I think it's going to be a tough battle. Why am I lying? Even though Georgia stunk it up against Bama, I think that was more of an anomaly. I don't think that's the norm. I think Georgia learned from this. I think Jordan Davis and Wyatt and Kobe Dean and Darian Kendrick are looking at this. All the guys who I mentioned are definitely day one picks, arguably first round picks, depending on where you see the positional needs going and based on where NFL teams have their big boards. I feel like I'm in the Todd McShay, Mel Kiper type of a deal right now. Let's just talk about the big board with Daniel Jeremiah, DJ, move the sticks. I love those guys. They're awesome. They really are, though. But talking about the draft and talking about these games, I'm really looking forward to it because, again, if you guys remember CFP, the College Football Playoff, even before that, when you watch the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl, I remember as a kid, I'm like, man, and then you see players that really didn't shine. Like, how'd they choke in the biggest stage? Well, some players just choke, and that's not checking off the box. When they say checking off all the boxes, did he check off the box? No, he doesn't. Because in the SEC championship game, he threw 3 interceptions, and then in the CFP playoff, in the semifinals, in the Cotton Bowl, he threw 2 interceptions, only 1 touchdown. So it's a 1-to-2 ratio with touchdown. And then he was rattled all game long. Like, where was that throughout the year? That wasn't there. Like, oh my gosh, now we have to cross-check and talk to these coaches and say, hey, man, is this, were you guys expecting that? That's what scouts do. They literally have to do that. They have to go back and cross-check and say, hey, look, is this player really what he is to be, or is the stage too big for him? Because at the NFL level, the lights come on every single Sunday, and you better be ready. You better be ready. Lunar Mystic says, Niners O-line is overrated. Hey, I can't disagree. But I'd love Aaron Rodgers to come to SF. I rather prefer Rodgers stays in Green Bay. I agree with that. We got some other questions here. Before we get to your questions on Instagram, I'm now searching on Instagram. There's a lot of questions. Please be sure to give me a like here on YouTube. And again, if you guys want to send me a super chat, you don't have to. But if you want to and donate to the channel, consider sending me a super chat or a super sticker. It'd be greatly appreciated. And mahalo for everyone that did that already. Also on Twitter, if you're on Twitter and watching this live on Twitter, you can also send me a tip. And it's linked to your Venmo. So if you have Venmo, all you have to do is just go to the money icon on my profile. Boom. Links to your Venmo. And boom. Just if you want to send me a tip for the work today, you guys can do that. At any point in time. Doesn't have to be when I go live. It could be any point in time. I could be sleeping at 3 a.m. in the morning. Boom. I'm getting like Venmo. I'm like, oh, cool. I got a Venmo payment. And then I respond. And I keep track because I give it back all to you guys. Literally do giveaways if you guys haven't known. Family Friday giveaways all to the BWF because I wouldn't be in the position I am without you guys here today. All right. Enough of that. Let's see. Mr. TNA 2005. I love, what's that? Shameless plugs? Whatever, dude. We all have to do it. I don't have the luxury of having advertisements on here. Actually, I do. I could get Evogen on here. I could get Bayer Rooted on here. I could get Busy Fit Meal Preps on here, which I should do, but I'm just maybe later. Mr. TNA says, what should the Browns do with Baker? But I do give away swag. You guys know that. So that helps them out. That helps me. What should the Browns do with Baker at the end of the season? I don't know. I'm not a fan of Baker Mayfield. I think that guy's just... I mean, is Odell Beckham Jr. wrong? Is Odell Beckham Jr. wrong? Is his dad wrong? I'm not a fan of Baker Mayfield. I shouldn't say I'm not a fan because I'm not. That's almost like saying that he doesn't suck, but he's inconsistent, and I can't. At the quarterback position, you cannot be inconsistent. You have to be consistently good, or if you're consistently bad, at least you're consistent. Like he's kind of sporadic, dude. He's kind of like this. Kind of like a volatile penny stock, right? If you guys all invest, you guys know what a penny stock is, right? What's a penny stock? Any stock valued at less than $10. And you guys talking finance now? Oh, cool story. But it's volatile, right? It goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up. Talking about common shares and all that other crap. But it's like a penny stock. You never know what you're going to get. Kind of like a box of chocolates, Forrest Gump reference. Orphanage Billy DeGram says, Russell Wilson going to the same. People are like, why are you talking about stocks? Well, I invested since I was 16, working at Safeway. And then also, for those who don't know, I was in the finance industry before delving into the NFL media. Russell Wilson going to the Saints would be scary. Top 3 O-line and 2 good wide receiver, 2 good running backs in Kamara and Ingram. On defense, you would have Jordan, Lattimore, and Davis. Saints could dethrone the Bucks. Packers. That would be one heck of a defense. The Saints are so sporadic too in their own right. Like I don't know what kind of Saints defense you're going to get. I think Lattimore's a little bit overrated. I said it since day one. Doesn't show up in my BWF grading system as a Pro Bowl cornerback. However, I do like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Check the Twitter receipts. He shows up on my BWF grading system, and you guys saw what I was talking about if you guys watched the game last night. And since his rookie year, being a 4th-round pick out of Florida, when I said the Niners should have went after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and people were like, who's that now? And then he slipped to the 4th round. The Twitter receipts check out. Or I should say the Beast receipts. CJ Sports Talk channel says, thoughts on Bama. Man, I love Bama. Look, you have Evan Neal, 1st-round pick, top 5 pick, all day long, all day strong. Jameson Williams, I should say, another 1st-round pick, top wide receiver in the draft. Obviously, you have other guys there. Traylon Burks is a really nice find, but you have Dotson there from Penn State, Johan Dotson. A lot of good guys there in college football off the top of my head. John Mechie is also a good route runner and a good wide receiver. Got really good coaching up at Alabama in terms of knowing and understanding route concept and spacing. I don't think he's, well, I'll be honest. I thought he was going to be like a top 20 pick heading into the year, and now I think he's more of a tail end first, early second, kind of a guy like where he would be drafted based on the valuation of how I see team needs are and based on how the draft board's playing out with multiple teams having multiple 1st-round draft picks. You kind of build up your draft board and build up your mock drafts accordingly. Of course, we don't know how free agency is going to play a role in filling those needs and salary cap cuts and so forth. But Jameson Williams, to me, is going to be falling into that T. Higgins category in terms of valuation. And Terrace Marshall last year, T. Higgins the year prior to that. So I think that's where you're going to see John Mechie's kind of draft range is in that tail end of the 1st and somewhere in the second. I don't think he falls to the 3rd round. By no means, he's not going to fall to the 3rd round, even though he tore his ACL. He's still going to be up there, just like Jalen Waddle was a 6th overall pick by the Miami Dolphins and the 1st wide receiver off the board outside of Jamar Chase. All right. So, a lot of stuff here today. Orphanage says, I will put my hair out if we don't beat Cincy by 17 plus. I still have no idea why they made the playoffs. I think they made the playoffs. I think we all know why they made the playoffs. There's actually a nice documentary. If you guys haven't watched it, if you guys have ESPN plus, by the way, YouTube TV dropped ESPN from their programming because it couldn't strike a deal. Hopefully YouTube TV gets it up right because I have YouTube TV. I'm a big YouTube TV supporter, which is why I made the switch. And then obviously I'm here on YouTube. But if you don't have, or if you have YouTube TV and you have ESPN Plus, you can watch on ESPN Plus. It's a documentary on basically the 4 college playoff teams. And they talk about why Cincy, people are saying, why Cincy should or shouldn't have made it. They touched base on it without touching base on it. But then they also talk about, it's the first team that's not a Power 5 that made the college football playoff and they're undefeated, and how Coach Fickle was saying, you know what, like, basically, we should be here. We're in it to win it. I came here to win the national championship. And again, how can you argue an undefeated team not getting in? Now, granted, they're playing the American Conference, right? The American. That's a conference. It's not a Power 5. It's not the Pac-12. And anybody who wants to know what's a, you hear the term Power 5 conference. What's a Power 5 conference? Well, a Power 5 conference is basically the top 5 dogs, right? You have the Pac-12, the Big Ten. I keep on thinking. I was talking to an NFL coach yesterday who, when he played in the Pac-10, and now it's called the Pac-12. So we were talking about, oh man, it's so weird how teams, and then you have all these other teams moving to the SEC and Big 12 and so forth. Anyways, Pac-12, Big 12, SEC, ACC, and gosh, dude, now I'm drawing a blank. Pac-12, Big 12, SEC, ACC, and Big 10. Boom. Yeah. There you go. So those are your 5 conferences. And that's why all these players in the Power 5 conference, that's why when you talk about GMs in the post, he played at North Carolina in the ACC, but the reason why we drafted this guy, Chasserat, the reason why we drafted him, because he has all the critical factors you look for in a linebacker. Chasserat, all the linebackers, all the running backs that came out of the draft. Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, for those who don't know, drafted in the 4th round by the New York Jets. I thought he would go to the Niners. I thought he was a better fit than Trey Sermon. In my pre-draft analysis, thought he was going to go there. Also thought Javonte Williams, I thought the Falcons, I thought the Denver Broncos did wonders by drafting Javonte Williams when they did, and I thought that the Atlanta Falcons should not have traded down for Richie Grant. I thought that was a bust. I thought Richie Grant was a bust. I know he had a strong Senior Bowl. People, what are you talking about? Here he is, not even starting. And then they should have went and stayed and got Javonte Williams, just like the 49ers should have stayed and got Asante Samuel instead of trading down with the Las Vegas Raiders and picking up Aaron Banks, an interior guard out of Notre Dame, who's more tailor-based for a power-based run scheme. Mr. TNA 2005 says, Beast, first you need to beat 55 today. Houston beat Auburn. Bama is next for AC. Yeah, it's I was watching the game this morning and I was like, wow, dude, like I can't believe they're playing football right now. And I was like, it's crazy. Yeah, the game on ESPN, Auburn and Houston. Houston was ranked number 20, I believe, and I think they were 11-2, and Auburn was 6-6, right? Auburn is 6-6, and Houston is ranked number 20, and they're 11-2. And how that game was unfolding before I went on this live stream, it wasn't looking strong for Auburn. I don't know how it turned out because I'm doing this live stream. Mr. TNA, my man from Romania. By the way, he's from Mr. TNA is from Romania, a big supporter here in the BWF. We have people from all over. We have people from Jamaica, obviously different countries, of course. Romania. Where else? Yugoslavia, China, Japan, Brazil, Mexico. A lot of love everywhere. Canada. A lot of love everywhere. All right. Sports Talk says thoughts on Steph Curry. Yes, outside of covering the NFL, I did cover basketball for my own blog, W17, but also covered it from Games and Gate Sports, and I did also played in high school as well. And we talked about Steph Curry on other live streams. Steph Curry is the best shooter I have ever seen. I don't take that lightly. I don't know who's better than him. It's just let me fix this. All right, so let me check my mic real fast and make sure that everything's in line. All right, let me know if it's better now. I think it's better now. Jeff, CJ Sports Talk says your audio is cutting out. Let me know if it's cutting out now. Is it okay? Okay, Mr. Tino says better. See, this is where the super chat and super stickers go towards. It goes towards new equipment. I got this Blue Yeti. Now I keep on saying it every live stream, dude. Like, I'm not joking. Like, this thing costs like $115, and I was like, oh man. You read all the Yelp reviews on Amazon and everything. Oh man, that Blue Yeti's the way to go. And I'm like, okay, man, I'm getting a Blue Yeti. And now it's blue. No, I can't curse here, but it's not the best. I don't know. Maybe my Yeti's cursed. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's bad. It's bad. But getting to your question, Steph Curry, man, I've never seen a better shooter in my lifetime. And Larry Bird probably comes closest. Obviously, we can talk about Ray Allen being a three-point shooter, but in terms of a pure scorer and a pure shooter, those are two different things. I think when you look at someone who can create his own shot, shoot off the dribble, and obviously come off screens and then also without taking a step or whatever, just catch and shoot type of a player. I think Larry Bird's up there because, again, when you talk about teams that threw what's called a fence, right? We used to call it a fence back in the day. And then they just swing around and then can catch on the drop of a dime and then shoot it up. That's what I did. And that's how I played my game. Steph Curry, there's no better shooter. Now, Ray Allen comes close. Reggie Miller is probably one of the best at doing that, coming off screens and shooting off the dribble. Or without a dribble, for that matter. And Steph Curry is just the best. I mean, how many half-court shots has he? Makes it look routine. It's kind of makes it look like layups. It's ridiculous. But yeah. All right, CJ Sports Talk channel says, thoughts on Kelce? Well, Kelce was out from COVID-19 and he wasn't available to play. But do you need Travis Kelce? Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the NFL. Do I think he's the best tight end in the entire NFL? I'm going to still have to say it's George Kittle. I think George Kittle is the best tight end in the NFL. No offense to Travis Kelce, and yes, people will, oh, you're a homer, bro. That's a homer take, bro, because you're from South Bay, bro. I'm like, bro, I just keep it 100. Look, if you were to ask me who's the best tight end in the NFL, I look at everything. I don't just look at box scores. I look at inline blocking. And let's face it, Travis Kelce is not a good inline blocker when it comes to being an inline blocker compared to George Kittle. George Kittle mauls people. George Kittle is basically an offensive lineman playing tight end, and he can line up anywhere, which you can do with Travis Kelce, shovel passes, line up in a wildcat, trips formation to the left. I don't know. But at the end of the day, give me George Kittle all day, every day. I like George Kittle over Travis Kelce, although Travis Kelce is arguably the best tight end in the NFL. I'm not going to argue that. Fantasy football owners would agree. Hey, he's the best. He's the best, man. Thoughts on Brady? Brady's the greatest of all time. No question about it. I don't care what anyone says. Tom Brady, anytime you go to that many Super Bowls and you become the winningest, gosh damn, the guy's just a winner. I mean, winningest quarterback in NFL history. The guy's just a beast. And he does it without Bill Belichick in his first year away from him. So, no question about it. Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. Thoughts on Ayuk? Good player, Pro Bowl talented player, and just needs to be more consistent and getting more targets. That's it. And that comes down to the quarterback play. I'm blaming the quarterback for Ayuk's not getting the targets because he's open a lot of times. And when he's open and the ball is thrown his way in his direction, it usually falls incomplete because it's inaccurate. Orphanage Builder DeGrome says nobody wants to talk about it, but the Jets nailed this year's draft. Vera Tucker should be a Pro Bowl. A. Elijah Vera Tucker, yes. And that's why I gave the New York Jets a grade of an A in my post-draft analysis. They got Michael Carter in the 4th. They got Elijah Vera Tucker in the 1st. They traded up for Elijah Vera Tucker, trading with the Minnesota Vikings, if I'm not mistaken, and they went ahead, and I believe they still got Christian Darrisaw trading back from Virginia Tech, and that's why I had them mocked at the position they were at number 14. And they traded back with the New York Jets. New York Jets climbed up to go ahead and get Elijah Vera Tucker, and they got Zach Wilson, right? So you have Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, Michael Carter, Elijah Moore, right, in the 2nd round, who I said was the best slot wide receiver in the entire draft class. And we had Bill Scout, rival of the New York Jets in the AFC East, come on the show. And I said, who's your favorite player this year in the draft? And he says, Elijah Moore. And lo and behold, Elijah Moore went to the New York freaking Jets, football Jets. And then I said, hey, this is my pre-draft analysis on Elijah Moore. Tell me if I'm right. And my man, AJ Highsmith, said, yeah, you're not wrong. He's like, that's what I see. So both our analysis are aligned when it comes to Elijah Moore. That's why he's having the season he's having, despite the poor play at quarterback. And let's face it, the New York Jets are a team on the rise. They have Robert Saleh there. They have a lot of good pieces in place there. Obviously, Carl Lawson, who they signed from the Cincinnati Bengals, was signed to be that edge rusher. He went down to an injury, so he was out for the entire year, and they were left scrambling there. So anytime you lose your top edge rusher, who you signed a big money contract to, kind of puts up in a bind, and then it's a game of musical chairs, right? Carl Lawson is no longer with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Saints lose Trey Hendrickson, who's now off to the Cincinnati Bengals. You guys know who Trey Hendrickson is by now. He is a Pro Bowler, was an all first team All Pro last year with the New Orleans Saints, and it's a game of musical chairs, right? So then, okay, well the Saints, we have Davenport. Let's see if he can get the job done. First round pick, Davenport at a USTA, I believe. How do I remember this? I think he was drafted number 14, Marcus Davenport, overall, at a USTA, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I love talking football. Talk about any team off the top of my head. Why would the Jags take Aiden or KT when they drafted Trevor in 2021? Evan and Ike can protect him for years to not get hurt. Why would the Jags take Aiden or Kayvon Thibodeau when they drafted Trevor? You know what? Here's the reason why. I would take Aiden Hutchinson. If I had the number 1 overall pick, I would take Aiden Hutchinson first because you need an edge rusher. Now, you do need protection on the offensive line, so do you go after Evan Neal? To me, Aiden Hutchinson's better than Evan Neal. Now, both players come at a positional need where it's very highly prized, and we talked about this, how looking at it from a GM perspective and a scouting perspective and a personnel perspective, you have and you rank your top 5 positional needs, but then you also rank the top five positions that are premium positions. So you look at boundary cornerback, right? Shutdown cornerback, blindside left tackle, quarterback obviously is another one. Middle linebacker and center will probably be the other two, right? So with that being said, you look at it, edge rusher would be in that category. So you have quarterback, you have blindside left tackle, edge rusher, boundary cornerback, or shutdown cornerback, and pick or poison. You can say center or Mike linebacker because both those on their respective sides of the football make all the line changes and all the calls on defense or offense, whatever you are talking about, and vice versa. So pick your poison there. But you have Aiden Hutchinson, a defensive end, who can play in a 34 base or a 4-3 front. You call him today an edge rusher. Back in the day, we would call them tweeners, back in the early 2000s and late 90s. So you have a tweener and Aiden Hutchinson on one side from Michigan. And then you have Evan Neal, right? Evan Neal, who is a guy who can play right tackle. He can play left guard. He can play blindside left tackle. You guys remember he moved from the right side to the left side, taking over for Alex Leatherwood. And the year prior to that, he was kicked in, I believe, at left guard. Got to look at my notes, but he was kicked in interior guard. And then so he can play the piano along the offensive line, literally outside of center. When you have a guy with that type of versatility, how can you argue saying, hey, look, we need to protect our number 1 investment in Trevor Lawrence for him to be successful? We talk about putting players in the best position to make plays. Trevor Lawrence or any quarterback behind center can't have success without a strong, stable offensive line in front because you have to go through your progressions. Having a strong offensive line also takes the pressure off the quarterback because then he can start off with the running game and that can open up the passing game off play action, right? If you don't have a strong offensive line, you're basically having damaged goods out there with a quarterback who can't get the real-time reps that he needs to go through that progressions because he doesn't have enough time to make those reads. Because every second he drops back with a 3-5 or 7-step drop, if you make it that far, you're going to get sacked. So, yeah, I can see why GM Trent Baalke would go and double down on his gains, just like he did back in 2010 where they traded up with the Denver Broncos from number 13 to number 11 and get their right tackle, Anthony Davis, and then at number 17, draft Mike Iupati, the throwing Samoan. All right. Now, do I see that plan panning out when they hold, arguably, let's say, the whole number 1 overall pick? Do they go ahead and take Evan Neal number 1? Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that because, again, it makes perfect sense. But again, Aiden Hutchinson, too, you also need an edge rusher. And edge rushers also come at a premium. So it's kind of like, okay, so where do we go from here? And again, notice how I'm not talking about Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm not as high in Kayvon Thibodeau as I am Aiden Hutchinson based on my BWF grading system and covering those two guys respectively over the last 2 years. Aiden Hutchinson to me is a more complete player simply because he is better sound in his run fit integrity. And to me, the critical factors that I look for in an edge rusher translates more. Now, you will have scouts that love and fall in love and covet Kayvon Thibodeau's skill set simply because of his HWS alone. Let's not talk about what he can do on the field, but potentially you're looking at a guy who is in the mold of a Chandler Jones or a Danielle Hunter. He has that type of frame to his body, number 5 from Oregon. But when I look at it and I look at run fit integrity, and then again, when you look at these mobile quarterbacks in today's day and age and they have the zone read and they're running RPOs, you really got to have someone who's disciplined. And Aiden Hutchinson, to me, especially getting the coaching that he did with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, is a better play than a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau. Beast receipts, I don't know. I'm sticking to that analysis today. It could change tomorrow, obviously, but from what I gathered and what I've seen, everything cross-checks in that. Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau has a higher ceiling possibly because of his HWS, but Aiden Hutchinson is a more disciplined NFL-ready pro today, and he's a double-digit sack artist. Great locker room guy, great team leader. Not saying Kayvon Thibodeau's not, but again, if I was to start an NFL franchise and I had to select either Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, I'm going with Kayvon Thibodeau. But like, oh, that's contradicting. I'd go with Aiden Hutchinson. Now, not to sleep on anyone, but let's not sleep on David Ojabo, right? David Ojabo, right? He is a guy, who's David Ojabo? Well, he's the other guy on the other side, right? So you guys got to look at it, and that's why when you look at the college football playoff, you look at David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson. David Ojabo had a nice game against Ohio State. Really did have a nice game against Ohio State. Ran the grades on him, just like I did Aiden Hutchinson. David Ojabo, yeah, he may be not as sound in his run fit integrity, gave up a little bit in that game against the Ohio State University, but picked up a sack, got a lot of pressures. I like David Ojabo as well. So, yeah, if I was to go into the draft, again, we can't make these assumptions yet because at the end of the day, we still have to see all-star games, right? We still have to see the measurables, cross-checking with coaches, scouts, you name it, the faculty, the teachers. Aside from that, that's just that we're not even started. We haven't even started on what we're really looking for, right? So this is what the scouting does, right? They do this, and again, they already have the legwork. Here we are in late December. They already have the legwork on this. They're just cross-checking it at the end of the year once the offseason rolls in and say, hey, look, all right, so throughout the year, you had to check in with me. Pretend I'm the GM. Okay, you had to check in with me. Here's your reports, your daily reports. Okay, so two of you guys said this, but then there's some kind of discrepancies here, like, did you cross-check this with this? Did you guys? Yes. Okay, cool. And that's what you do. But I like Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's going to be one hell of a player. I think he's the top player in this entire draft. Now, I do love Evan Neal as well. Maybe because I'm a Roll Tide Roll fan? No. The guy's just a monster. Evan Neal can play the piano along the line, and that's not easy to come by. That's not easy to come by. All right, so we have Mark TNA says Mark Andrews is the best tight end this season. Mark Andrews, how can you argue out of the Baltimore Ravens, right? Baltimore Ravens, again, another Oklahoma product. Again, I talk about this in the BWF and NFL GM draft history. Eric DeCosta has an affinity love for Oklahoma players. Marquise Hollywood Brown, another guy who they got in the first round. But Mark Andrews was not a first-round pick, obviously, but they had some guys. I think Orlando Brown Jr. was another Oklahoma product, Pro Bowl player, who is a blindside left tackle, according to him, when he subbed in for Ronnie Stanley, who went down to that fractured ankle, played at a really high level, and then got shipped off to the Kansas City Chiefs because he's like, you know what, dude? Like, I can make more money being a blindside left tackle than I am a right tackle. So just get rid of Eric Fisher, plug me in there, get rid of Mitchell Schwartz. Give me that money. Give me that bread. Sign Joe Tooney. Draft Creed Humphrey in the second round out of where? Oh, yeah. Huh. Go figure. Boom. Surprised they didn't go after CeeDee Lamb. Joking. A little bit. CG Sports Talk channel says George Kittle is the best tight end this season. You can't argue that. Mela says, yo, Ryan, I sent you a super chat. Not sure if you got it. I did not get it. I didn't get a super chat. I did not get it. It would have showed up here if I did. I didn't get it, my man. So, yeah, it's not showing up. It's not showing up on YouTube in the comments section. I'm looking right now. Did not get it yet. Did not get it. So, maybe it didn't go through. Maybe it didn't go through because otherwise I would have got it. So, maybe try resending it. And if I get double payment on it, I'm going to Venmo you back, whatever it is. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mr. TNA 2005, Orphanage Builder DeGrom. If Zach Wilson is a bust, the others can be Hall of Fame. This will be an F draft. Wow, look at CG Sports Talk channel. He wants all the news. All the news here in the BWF. Thoughts on Zach Wilson? I like Zach Wilson. I did a whole full analysis on my pre-draft analysis on Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be one hell of a player. Very smart, very mobile. Goes through his progressions well. Just needs a stronger supporting cast. Now, that will come with time. Empire wasn't built overnight. We talked about this earlier on this live stream. But don't sleep on what they're trying to build. GM Joe Douglas is building it up from the inside out, not the outside in. And we talked about GM Joe Douglas and what his tendencies are, where his background is, how he likes to build teams up. We talked about this. And so anytime you get a coach like Robert Saleh, who I know personally, I know that team's going in the right direction. I told Take Flight, a lot of the fans that are following me here on the BWF here on YouTube, you guys have a lot to look forward to, man. And there's nothing but a bright future there. Now, is Jamison Crowder going to return? I don't know. Obviously, you don't have Robbie Anderson there. He signed that 2-year deal with the Carolina Panthers. And you do have Elijah Moore, right? You do have assets there. You have Michael Carter. You have Elijah Vera Tucker. You have Zach Wilson. Man, you have a lot of freaking players, man. I shouldn't say a lot, but you have a strong foundational players that you can work with moving forward. And I think that's something to look forward to. Anytime you're a fan, and I say this because I'm no longer a fan of one specific NFL team, I'm more a fan of the NFL. But anytime you're a fan of whatever team you root for, I think you have to ride the highs and lows. And I always talk about this. Even when I was a fan, I rode the highs and lows. And you guys know that I've been known as a diehard Niner fan, always on the front page of the Mercury News and getting interviewed during the playoff run and being on TV, KPIX, KMBR, Kron, whatever the case may be. Always dressed out in style and so forth. But I always say this, anytime you're a fan of a specific team, you need to ride the highs and lows, because when they start winning, because everything comes full circle at some point in time, it's that much sweeter because you were with them during the down years. If you go off the grid because they suck or they're losing and then pay no attention to it, then it's like, when they do win, it's almost like, man, you're just like a fair weather fan. So don't be a fair weather fan, New York Jets fans. I know you guys aren't. You guys have one of the strongest fan bases, arguably, definitely the freaking biggest market team, right? In the entire NFL, New York, right? So New York, Giants, same deal. Although GM Dave Gettleman, is he going to retire? That's going to have a shake-up on Georgia products because he likes drafting Georgia players. Aziz Ojulari, right? What's going to happen there? I don't know. But I think the sky is high when it comes to New York Jets. Thoughts on Penei Sewell? I thought it was going to be okay. I thought it was going to be solid. Now, is he a Pro Bowl type of a guy? I mean, it's year one. I like him. I do like Penei Sewell because he's quick, he's nimble, and yeah, I would say I like him. Where the Lions drafted him. Thoughts on Jerry Judy? Well, in my pre-draft analysis, thoughts on Jerry Judy, the best route runner to come out of that draft class. I like Jerry Judy. I still like him. Now, can he stay on the field? He's been kind of banged up. He does need a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater over the years. I mean, Drew Lock kind of needs something else than those guys. But you have guys like Cortland Sutton taking the pressure off of him. You have Tim Patrick taking the pressure off of him. You have Noah Fant there, or Fant, tight end. Pieces are in place. You have a strong team. Javonte Williams, obviously, we just talked about him. We're going to see how that plays out. But I like Jerry Judy. Let's see. What else we got here? Oh, wow. Do you think Mayock will draft more Bama players in 2022 or DeCosta will draft more Sooner players? That's a good question. I think Mike Mayock is going to go after team captains. No, Mike Mayock would probably just not draft any more Clelin Ferrells. Again, Beast receipts check out. The last 3 years, Damon Arnett, Alex Leatherwood, Clelin Ferrell, I said those guys were the biggest surprise picks and worst picks in the first round by the Raiders in those respective years. Like, I literally named all the team. Check the Beast receipts. Not just the Raiders. I did the whole analysis on all 32. I said, the worst picks in round one were this, blah, 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 blah. The worst picks in round 1 the following year in 2020, blah, blah, blah. In real time, not in hindsight. Obviously, everyone can do it in hindsight, but in real time, I was doing this right as the draft was unfolding. Oh, you're a hater. Well, where's Damon Arnett? Got cut by the team for posting videos. You guys haven't seen that. Where is Clelin Ferrell? Number 4 overall. Out of Clemson. Clelin Ferrell. Right? Where's Alex Leatherwood? Struggling. Now I know Alabama guys, they get coached up and there's some, but I was like, I'm a huge Roll Tide Roll fan, and I thought Alex Leatherwood was better suited to play guard than he is tackle. You guys can see what I had to say on my Raiders post-draft grades on the Raiders. Just type in BEASTwriter Raiders draft grade. They didn't get a good passing grade by me. Thought they reached for Alex Leatherwood. Thought there were better players out there. In fact, I thought they always go after a surprise pick, and I was in Vegas, or calling in from Vegas from here, right from my home. And Vegas wanted me on, and they said, hey, Beast, we need your predictions. And again, it's all on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram. And they said, what's the biggest splash that a team is going to make in the first round? Literally just 30 minutes before the 2021 NFL draft. And I said, you know what? What I'm hearing is Trey Lance is going to go to number 3. And I put it up on YouTube. I'll put it up again. I said Trey Lance is going to go number 3. I said more times than not, I think Mac Jones is what I'm hearing. I was like, New England Patriots are going to stay pat. This doesn't mean stay put. If not, if anything, they're going to trade back, not up. People are saying I was like, nah, that's not what I'm hearing. And take Mac Jones. I think he's going to slide outside the top 10 if he's sitting there. And then I said the one team that's going to make a power play move is Ryan Pace. I said I think he's going to make a play for a quarterback. Justin Fields or Mac Jones, who pick your poison. And that's how it played out. And people were coming, I made so much money off that. I'm like, well, thanks. You gave me a cut? Nope. Nothing. I got nada. But hey, it's I'm glad you guys made money off my analysis and predictions. It's great. Let me get to you the Instagram questions and Twitter questions. We have a lot. We have a lot of questions. All right. So. Okay, here's one. Who's the better coach, Bill Walsh or Bill Belichick? Ooh, that's a good one. I'm biased. I might be biased because I like Bill Walsh. But I'm going to have to say Bill Belichick. You can't argue what he has done on defense. You can't argue what he has done on offense with the coaching. You can't argue what he's done overall. And they've been plenty of dynasties in New England. You know what I mean? We're talking about, they have Manning in the arena for crying out loud. Of course, they had Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever. But Bill Walsh had Joe Montana, too. So, inventor of the West Coast offense. I think that Bill Belichick, what he has accomplished, it speaks volumes and speaks for itself. No offense to Bill Walsh, but I just think Bill Belichick's the best. All right. I think this is going to wrap up this live stream. And again, thank you so much for everyone that sent me super chat and super stickers. I really appreciate the love and support. It's been greatly appreciated. You guys are awesome. And again, if you guys have... Oh, Mello, I did get it. Mello said, did you get the super chat? You know what? I didn't even show this. Now I'm showing it. I apologize, Mello. And thank you for sending me the super chat and super sticker. I did get it. Yes, I got it. At the end of the day, I want to thank Jimmy for what he tried to do. Players come and go, and I look forward to see what the future is like. Thank you so much, Mello, for the super chat and super sticker. I just saw this right now. And again, I'm going through it. Oh, there's another one. I am getting super chat and super stickers without even posting it. I apologize. I'm toggling between Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, a lot of Facebook messages. I get a lot of Facebook messages. A lot of Facebook messages, or comments, I should say, too. Well, I get both, actually. On regards to, like, the Niners. Mostly it's the Niners, or... Actually, no, it's on the Raiders, too, today. Raiders suck. Alex Leatherwood is horrible. Okay. Anyways, yeah, back on topic. Thank you so much, Mello, for the super chat and super sticker. And he says, at the end of the day, I want to thank Jimmy Garoppolo for what he tried to do. Players come and go, and I look forward to see what the future is like. Yes, I agree with you 110%. I think there's no guy that's more professional and handled his business better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And when the organization or any company tries to force their way into forcing you out the door and you can still play at the level that you're playing at, although it's not an all-pro level or even a Pro Bowl level. You're still playing at a very high level based on your efficiency rating. Can't argue that. You can't argue that. I think if the roles were reversed and we were put in that situation, I don't know how well we would do. But then again, we don't get paid $26.2 million to do what he does. But that's for a different story. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day on this Taco Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you liked what I had to say, give it a thumbs up if you're not watching this live, and also subscribe in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. And please be sure, once you do that, to turn on the bell notifications on the device that you're on, so you stay updated on when I go live or when I upload content. Thank you so much today. I'll be back tomorrow. Stay tuned. BEASTwriter.